So we're going to do the homework here for chapter 22. So grab your homework out and let's see what questions you have here. So we've got some parsing here. Remember, we're dealing with second aorist, active and middle forms. These have no tense formative, right? You're going to learn all about those aorist tense formatives for the first aorist in the next chapter. And then your training will be complete and you will be a Jedi. All right. So any questions on the parsing?
Number 1.
All right. All right, so we have Elthaman for number 1. This is a little bit difficult. So as we start layering on all these tenses and these possibly different roots that some of these tenses borrow from, we have to always try to start with what we know. What do we know? What is identifiable in this form that will allow you to start filling in your parsing? Yeah, that men ending there is the personal ending for first plural. Good. So whatever this means, we know we're doing it, right? Okay, good. Now, the omicron before the mem is likely what? The connecting vowel. So let's strip that off as well. And so I'm left with aelth here. And at this point, you're on your own. No. At this point, you got to go back to your vocab list and say, okay, have I learned any verbs whose lexical form looks even remotely close to that? And the answer is no. You don't know any verbs like eltho, right? So do I know any principal parts that are reflected in this? And the answer is yes. What verb is this? It's erchomai. So this is a matter of, like what I think I mentioned to you guys at one point, don't memorize the principal parts of verbs where the principal parts follow the normal pattern. It's where the principal parts differ significantly that it's worth memorizing. And this is one you really need to. Erchomai becomes aelthon. Aelthon. All right. So if you were then to look up erchomai, because you had this faint memory that elth is somewhere in that principal parts list, then you'd then say, okay, is it column 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? What column would the elth part be in? It'd be in 3. It'd be in 3. And so you might go back and look. Okay, so what is that? Elthon is its form. So I've got the elth part that would match. That would tell me that this is a... And I'm going to encourage you to do this for first and second aorist, to go ahead and jot down first or second with your tense, just so that you can be reminded over and over again the difference between the two. Now, is men an active or a middle passive ending? It's active. So we know this is the second aorist active, and then everything right now is indicative, isn't it? So if it's aorist, how do I translate aorist verbs? Usually just simple past. Simple past. So we what? We went. Good. That would be a great gloss. We went. Okay. Anybody have any other questions about that? Mm-hmm. Yep. So we went or came. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For the voice, I put middle or passive because erchomai takes a...
In the present stem, it does take middle-only forms. But in the aorist, that ending is an active ending on elthon. Otherwise, it would have been what? Yeah, it'd be like main. You'd have the main ending for the middle. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, you got to pay attention to that. All right. Other questions? Mm-hmm.
Old question. And for voice, is there a difference between active, passive, and middle? Could we have gotten away with... I was wrong regardless, but passive and middle, those don't count the same thing.
They're not the same in the aorist. They are always different from each other. Can we do number 9? Sure. Let's do that. Draw that up where we can see it a little bit better. Okay, everybody say this with me. Apithonomen. Apithonomen. So Identifiable things at the front or back end here. What do we see? The men. Okay, you see the men. What's that tell you? First plural. Is that the first plural in the active or the middle passive endings? That's active. What's the middle passive first plural ending? Metha. Metha. Don't you metha with me. All right, so this is active and indicative, isn't it? We already got that. So here's the question. What tense is this? Can the men be used in the present? Future? Future active? Lusamen? Right? We can do that. Luso, luces, luce, lusamen, lusate, lususin. So we can see that in the future. Will we see it in the aorist? I can't see an aorist active first person plural form with men. I can. So this could be any of the three, just looking at the tense form or the personal ending. That's not going to help me here. So what's going to help me? Looking for the stem and comparing it with the present tense, which is always the lexical form. So what is the lexical form of this here now verb? Ah. Are you sure it's that? It's sort of different from what I'm seeing here, isn't it? That's not the present stem over here, is it? So it must be future or aorist, right? Yeah. There's no sigma. The real root and the future stem of this is apathon. Would I expect a sigma in the future with that kind of a letter at the end of the verb stem? That's liquid, isn't it? So what's going to help me here? Is there anything else on this verb that gives me a clue as to whether this is future or aorist? Yeah, you see that augment? Okay, this augment is the clue. That can't be future, can it? All right, good. So that's one. If it were the future, what would I do to make it first person plural in the future active? I'd take apathon. I should add a sigma, omicron, and men. Liquids do what? Add the epsilon before the sigma, yes. This sigma drops out. These two contract, and I'd get the circumflex here. Apathanumen. Apathanumen. It's close, but no cigar here. Okay, so this is aorist. And since this is an aorist, and I have no tense formative, is it a first or a second aorist? It's a second, right? Second aorists have no tense formatives. Okay, good. So just for the sake of remembering that, I encourage you to put second aorist for these. All right, and how would I translate this? What's apathnesco mean? To die. So we died. Excellent. Yes. Hate to say it after this one, but are we good? We died.
Can you go over again, like why it's like an aorist and not a tense formative?
It's just a different way of forming the aorist. So our sort of standard pattern that we're going to learn next chapter is the sigma alpha tense formative, but this is just an alternate way of doing it. Just like in English, most of the time we add D or ED to make a verb past in English, but then there are a handful that change the vowel and don't add the D or ED. See, saw. Come, came. Sing, sang. All I'm doing is changing the vowel, makes it past. Right? So someone comes to you and says, well, Ian, can you tell me why you don't add a D or an ED to sing? And you say, no, it's just the way we learned it, right? That's just a different pattern it follows. Okay. Good. Now, just for fun. I know we're not into fun here, but just for fun. How would I form this, the verb, if everything in the parsing were the same, but it were an imperfect instead of a second aorist? What would that look like? That's right. I got to go grab the present stem. So it's got to be from apath nesk. And then, if it's the imperfect, what do I have to do to the front side? Got to augment. So the alpha should be eta.
Would you augment that or would you augment the
Yeah, I'm going to augment over here. And this omicron is not part of the verb stem. This omicron is part of the prefix. So the augment's going to slide in there before the theta. But since I'm adding a vowel before, this final vowel is going to elide or fall out. All right? So to now clean that up a little bit, it's going to be op. Here, I'll do it in red. Op-eth. Okay? Op-eth nesk. And then what am I going to do? The imperfect adds after the present stem. What? Do imperfects have tense formatives? Nope. So I go straight to the connecting vowel. And we're doing first person plural, so I need omicron and men. All right? So compare these two. Op-ethonomen, op-ethneskamen. You see the difference there? That's the only difference. Stem. How would you translate this one? The imperfect? We were dying in Dr. Marshall's class. Okay, so. It never feels that way. I've never seen someone die laughing and smiling. Okay. Anybody have any other questions about the parsing here? You're all experts in second aorist now, right?
Since the second aorist can only be middle, should we only put middle when it's
Yeah, so when you see a middle passive ending on a second aorist, it will only be middle because the aorist passive will always use different stem, and it's actually going to use different personal endings. I think I mentioned this the other day. Aorist passives always use secondary active personal endings. It's just really naughty. It ought naughty to be. Number 4. Yeah, everybody say this with me. Ace althus. Okay, so anything identifiable here on the front or back end? You've got an ace something. So whatever this verb is, it's going to be ace something, isn't it? Now, what about that part? Elth. Aelth. Do I have a verb ace altho? No. Ace erchomai. That doesn't look very much like elthon, does it? Why not? Because it's from a different root. That's right. What do you make of the sigma on the back? That second singular in which secondary endings, active or middle passive? That's the active. So we've got active indicative. The stem does not match the stem of the lexical form. The stem of the lexical form is always which stem? The present stem. And the present stem's not used here since it doesn't match. So this must be, well, it must be either a future or an aorist, huh? Which one is it? Ah, this is looking aorist, isn't it? Who remembers what the future form of erchomai is? This one bears memorizing. Elusomai. Elusomai is the future. This one's the aorist. So, and if this were a future, it would have ace at the end for the second singular, wouldn't it? And I'd be looking for, well, if it were active, right? And I'd be looking for a sigma usually before that, loose ace, for example. If I had a future middle, remember what happens there? Loosami, loosesi. What happens there? That psi is going to drop the sigma. We're going to get some funky contractions. We'll get an eta with an iota subscript, which isn't what we have here either. Okay, but this does look like the secondary active second person singular ending. Okay, so not future, aorist. No tense formative because it's a second aorist. How will I translate this? Who's doing the action? You singular. What? Came or went where? In. That little prefix there is giving you a little bit more semantic freight to carry around, huh? Okay, so you came in, you went in. How might you form the imperfect of the same parsing? Okay, you got to use the present tense stem. Let's do that real quickly. We'll do it down here. So, ace, ka, mai. So what do I do with that? Make it imperfect. Second person singular. If it's imperfect, what do you have to do at the front end? Got to augment. Where am I going to augment this? That's right. But before at the beginning of the verb. So I've already got a vowel here, don't I? So how will I augment that puppy? It will lengthen. And what does an epsilon lengthen to augment it? Ah, yes. So ace, air. And then I've got my psi tie endings on what would be the present stem. That is to say, in the present, erchomai is middle only. So to make it imperfect, it's going to be middle only. And so, what am I going to add? I've got my connecting vowel. It'll be omicron or epsilon. What's my second singular ending for the imperfect? It's a sigma. So which one of these connecting vowels am I going to use? Omicron. But the sigma is active, right? Secondary active, second singular. Remember, I have to use the middle forms for the secondary tenses. Okay, good. So it's going to be not just the sigma, but the saw, right? So which one of these connecting vowels? Epsilon. That's right. So here, we'll clean this up. So epsilon. So erk-esa. Can I just leave it like that? No. Ace erkasa. Sigma is going to drop out. Epsilon and omicron become? Ooh, very good. So ace erku is you were coming in. You were going in. Okay. Now, can you tell the difference between ace elthes and ace erku? Like, yeah, that is obvious, isn't it? How you got there may be a little bit more challenging, but they are quite different from each other. Okay, good. Let's look at the warm-ups, shall we? We shall. For delta, we have pneuma hagion elabete. Say that with me. Pneuma hagion elabete. And what's this little doohickey right there? That is a question mark. That's going to make a difference with the way you translate this. All right. What is elabete? You received. What tense is it? This is a second aorist te. Is that active or middle passive? It's active. And which person and number is it? Second plural. It's a question. So, what am I going to say or translate this as? Did you receive? Did you receive? And then I have pneumahagion. Can that be the subject? In form, that could be nominative or accusative, couldn't it? But the subject is already specified over here, isn't it? The subject is you, not the Holy Spirit. So I'm going to take this not as nominative, but as accusative, singular, and neuter. So did you receive the Holy Spirit? All right. Now, you notice there's no article here, right? Now, one of two things has happened. Either Mounce chopped it off in the effort to make these short and sweet, or this is a situation where the expression is anarthrous, no article, yet it is still definite, and you can translate it definitely because there's not another spirit that's holy out there, right? And that seems to me to be what's going on. I don't think he's missing the article in what he's cut and paste here. All right. Anything else?
On Zeta, could we have thought that Israel was nominative?
Yeah, Israel is indeclinable, so it doesn't use case endings. So it could possibly be subject or direct object. So Aselthan, Askein, Israel could mean Israel went into the land. But this could also be genitive, right? In which case it's Israel, or somebody went into the land of Israel. So yeah, it's theoretically plausible either way. So a context would help with just knowing what's happening there. Good question. Anybody else? If you look at epsilon, you see on apethanon, I've got a new here. Is that a personal ending new or a movable new? That is definitely the personal ending new. So it's either what? What are my two possibilities? First singular, third plural. Which one makes the better choice here? Third plural because of why? The prophets is plural. And nominative, yes? Which means it's the subject of the verb. So if we got a plural subject, got to have a plural verb most of the time. You guys know that sometimes, somebody asked me this the other day, sometimes you'll have a neuter plural subject and the verb will be third singular. Have we come across that yet? Don't remember seeing that? That does happen. That happens quite frequently. Neuter plural subjects can take a third singular verb. Very frequently do. So keep your eye open for it. Okay.
Just making sure I understand why. Would that be because if it's neuter plural, it's being treated as more of a category, or so?
I don't think so. People have tried to say, well, it's because that subject is being construed as a kind of collective idea, sort of like the word team or nation. I've not really seen that semantically either. So it happens in Attic Greek, though, quite a bit, and it's been perpetuated into the Koine text that we have. Yes, number 7. Let's look at 7 here. So palakis. That's a great word, palakis. All right, so often. Ooh, I'll bet your trouble is what to do with the chi here? Yeah. Okay, yes. So, just looking at the translation of palakis, what type of a word is that? Like what word class or part of speech is that? That's an adverb, okay? So, chi is a conjunction that joins two similar things. Jack and Jill went up the hill. Okay, noun and noun. He did it quickly and methodically. Two adverbs joined by and, or in Greek, kai. Okay, so if you see the kai, your first instinct should be join two like things. So what's between the kais? Well, what do I have here? I have an adverb and then a prepositional phrase. Not very helpful, right? So chances are then when you have a kai that's not joining two grammatically like things, then the kai is going to take on more of an adverbial flavor that would then be translated as something like also or even. So if you say often and into the fire, that's going to sound sort of odd, right? But if you go with also, and you really should have some more context here. And that's one of the things I don't like about doing exercises like this is you're kind of being dropped into a scenario and you don't really know sometimes what's been omitted. Sometimes Mounce will chop off a clause and leave parts of it off that could have been helpful. But here, this then could have the idea of often, also, or also, often, he cast into the fire and into the water. Oh, you're missing something else here that's really important too, aren't you? What are you missing? There's no. Oh, I'm sorry. There it is. I missed the direct object there. I thought he left that off too. Okay, yeah. You don't know who the subject is. So, what do you think the subject would be? Yeah, probably a demon, or even a set of demons. Demons would be neuter plural. So demons could have been the subject of this, have a singular verb. So I didn't look at his footnote. What does he say?
The kai could mean both and.
Correlative conjunction.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, there we go. That's another situation. I didn't look far enough here. So yeah, so we have kai this, kai that. Now here we do have two prepositional phrases, don't we? I should have kept reading. I'm sorry. So those are like things. So here, the kai is probably not that adverbial kai, but it's the correlative conjunction kai, so the both and. So often, he threw him both into the fire and into the water. All right, good. Well, it's a good thing I asked you what his footnote said. I wasn't paying attention to this latter part here. Okay, good. Does that make sense? So kai. Kai this, kai that, where they're like things, means both this and that. All right. Any final, like desperate questions? Because you're taking a quiz next time. All right. We all good? You think so?